people want to judge me, that's absolutely fine. I did what I did. I can't change the past.
Yeah.
And I felt shame around it for a very long time. Like, fuck that. Like, I'm over it now.
Dionne Slater, absolutely chuffed to have you on the show, the Purpose-Led Leadership Podcast. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm really well. Great to meet you in person. I'm inspired by your content and what you've done and your story. I think the first question is, how the fuck do you become so unapologetic?
A lot of lessons, a shitload of wobbles, a lot of healing, a lot of facing your fears, and the biggest thing for me has definitely been overcoming the things that I felt the deepest shame about. And it hasn't been easy. It's been like a massive fucking emotional roller coaster. But this is how I've got to where I am. And it definitely hasn't been linear as well.
Yeah.
I know we're just talking in the lift there about like me having to knock a drink on the head because I just can't do one drink. That was, for a long time, that's what I used for my confidence. People always thought I was very unapologetic, but I was only like that with substances in me.
Right.
And now I've had to learn how to do it without that.
Yeah, I mean, your journey is very eclectic. Why don't we just go into it? Let's just talk about from school to now, the highs, the lows. There's some big things happened, haven't there?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Fire away.
So tell us. So what's happened in your life since kind of school?
So in school, I was very, very quiet. My mum, she was a single parent. She was an alcoholic. She tried her best with the tools she had because she came from a very, very, very violent, chaotic, alcoholic parents. And it just kind of it just fucking goes down generations, doesn't it?
Yeah.
She was depressed a lot of the time. She had this temper like you've never seen before. And it was just, a very chaotic childhood. There was a lot of violence, a lot of just, it was just, very, very unsettled. And so in school, I tried very much to be the good girl so that I wouldn't get in trouble. I was a very scared little kid. And I became a people pleaser. I just wanted to be liked. I was so desperate to be liked because I didn't feel loved. My mum tried killing herself a few times.
Right.
I thought, but that's obviously my fault. She hates her life that much that she wants to kill herself. So grew up feeling just not good enough, very unlovable. And I tried to contort myself and change myself.
Yeah.
Basically, I will be whatever you want me to be in order for you to like me. Yeah. And as you know, it's just like the world just doesn't work like that. So
that really resonates because I've been very public and open about being an abandoned child, right? And that's played out in my relationships, in my love life, but also in more trivial things as well. And I get the sense with yours is kind of rejection and abandonment as well. But I think that obviously that one incident has affected you, but it's also affected you in different ways, in different situations, I think. Is that right? Definitely.
It plays out in like so many areas of our lives. Relationships with men that I had, work relationships. I would change my fucking accent just to fit in.
Right.
So just every single area of my life it bled into. And so much of it comes from this, rejection wound, not feeling love. Obviously, I didn't know my dad as well growing up. So just every area of your life, stuff like this goes into.
But it's also, you seek that validation, whatever it is, you get it, and then it's never enough. You want more. And it's like, it's just, how do you break that cycle?
You have to learn how to validate yourself. Everyone in the world can tell you you're amazing, you're this, you're that. They can blow all the smoke up your arse, but until you learn to love, like, and validate yourself, it's never going to be enough. We know that ourselves. We always wanted the validation. We got the viral post and it still didn't feel good enough.
Yeah. So obviously a very difficult, traumatic childhood with both parents pretty much there but not there. Let's put it that way, shall we?
Yeah. So my dad, I didn't meet him till I was 19.
Right.
So he actually left when I was 6 months old. We have an amazing relationship now and I'm so grateful for it. But he was totally gone. He had his own addictions. Right. My mum was there, but
Yeah.
She struggled. She had her own mental health. Like I said, there was the suicide attempts, there was the alcohol, there was a lot of like violence and stuff in the household, men coming in and out. So we just never felt safe. When I say we, I mean me and my sister, who's 3 years younger than me. We never felt safe, and we kind of coped with it in our own ways. I went very much down the good girl route, and people pleasing good girl route, and then my sister very much went down the rebellious route. Always getting into trouble, police always at the door. But it's just like you deal with stuff in different ways.
Yeah. So the men coming in and out, that was like, my mum was like that. I've been open about the fact that she was a prostitute.
Yeah.
So how did that situation affect your opinion of men, and also your relationships and your sex life?
Yeah. So I never trusted men. I never liked them, because I remember once, I think I must have been about 8 or 9 years old, and she met this guy. We went on holiday in Greece. She met this guy, and he ended up coming back to us. I think he might have lived with us for a little bit, but it all happened very fast. And I remember literally, it must have been a few weeks into the relationship, me and my sister were like arguing, fighting downstairs, as you do when you're kids.
Yeah.
And the guy slapped us across the face. And I remember telling my mom, and he said I was lying, and my mom believed him. And so straight away I was like, I can't, like, this stranger's hit me. I don't know who the fuck it is. And so again, straight away, there was just like no trust there. And the people who I thought were supposed to be like my caretakers weren't. So yeah, I had this very, very skewed opinion of men from a very, very young age. But at the same time, I was so desperate to be loved and liked that from the age of 14, I started sleeping with guys just because I was like, well, if I sleep with them, then maybe they'll love me. And it just never worked out like that. I just got used so much to then, when I became an adult and in my late 20s, I'd had enough of being this good girl, which I tried being for such a long time, that I thought, you know what, fuck it. I've been used anyways. I might as well get fucking paid for it. Right. And I'm sick of being this good girl. So fuck the world, fuck a lot of you. I'm just going to rebel and do all the things that society says you shouldn't do. Yeah. And then that's how I ended up in sex work. Right. For the brief time that I was in it.
What was that like?
Do you know what? There was some times where it was really fun. It was really fun. I got to explore. There was a lot of my own sexuality that I wanted to explore.
Yeah, right.
I was in a very controlling relationship when I was in Brighton. He was a lot older than me. And he didn't like the way I spoke. He didn't like the way I dressed. So again, I changed myself massively. If you go onto my old YouTube videos when I was a vocal coach, I sound completely different. I'm like, honestly, I've got this like weird Cockney accent. It's like, that's how much I wanted to change myself. Yeah. And I was just really unfulfilled. I felt very, very trapped, just really unhappy and resentful, to the extent where one day I just exploded and thought, you know what, I can't do this anymore. Quit my successful vocal coaching business, moved to Newcastle, thought, you know what, I'm going to become a prostitute. That sounds like fun. I get paid for having sex. I've never had a threesome before. I can do all of that. Yeah. And yeah, so would I go back to it? No, sex to me now is very sacred. I'm with a partner that I love. Yeah. But at the same time, like, well, there's some fun times. Absolutely.
So how did you get out of that? And secondly, how did you arrive at a position where you're absolutely comfortable saying that's what you did?
So do you mean comfortable saying it now?
Yeah.
So.
Because you probably wasn't then, was you?
Oh, God, no. To be honest, someone triggered me that much to a point where they tried shaming me when I was in sex work at the time, that we ended up in an altercation that got that bad. I nearly went to prison.
Seriously?
That's how triggered I got. That's how ashamed I was really about it. I mean, he was an arsehole, but my anger, my emotions, everything, I was really messed up back then. I did no inner work whatsoever. I was just like this time bomb. Yeah. So it just, it took a while for me to release the shame. Even when I started my VA business back in 2019, I think it was, I always had this fear of, oh my God, if I get too big, someone could be like, oh my God, that's that prostitute, out me to the world. My world's going to come crumbling down. I'm going to lose everything. Yeah. So I kept myself small for a lot of years. Yeah. Well, for a few years. Yeah. And it was always a massive fear. fuck, what if people find out what I used to do? Massive fear.
What was the thing that triggered you to say, fuck that, I'm going to just not tell everybody? You don't just mention it all the time.
Yeah,
but
do you know what? I edged my way into it because I started becoming aware that just shame is a very, very repressive emotion. Is shame an emotion? Yeah, I suppose it is. But shame is just really repressive.
Yeah.
And the more inner work I was doing, the more I realized it. And I wanted to, when I moved back into coaching, I wanted to help my clients on such a deeper level.
Yeah, right.
But at the same time, I was still running away from a lot of the shame that I felt. And it's like, at one point, God was just like, you know what, it's fucking time to start running away from it now. But it didn't happen overnight. I started edging my way into it. On a couple of the masterclasses I did, I started mentioning it there, started mentioning it to people who were more like acquaintances rather than friends, to eventually, I can't even remember the first time that I mentioned about the sex work online, but I'm sure I would have been shaken like a leaf.
Yeah.
And now I don't care anymore. People want to judge me, that's absolutely fine. I did what I did. I can't change the past.
Yeah.
And I felt shame around it for a very long time. Like, fuck that. Like, I'm over it now.
Shame. I think shame is similar to fear, isn't it? Fear about what people think, and, and all that kind of stuff. And I think, as you say, it's not a magic pill. You don't do a course or program, and I think it's just ongoing work, isn't it? But also,
absolutely.
I mean, I talk about my story a lot. When I've been abandoned and I've lost a massive business. It's only recently I thought, hang on a second, that's happened to me, but it's not me. And I think it's similar to you, where you've done what you've done, whatever you've done. That doesn't define you as a human being, right? What do you think?
100%. Like, I know I'm a good person. I am friends with people who, like, I know a lot of people who've been in sex work, drug addicts, people who are like ex-criminals, and people just, so many of us have been through trauma. Yes, some of us haven't been through like the big T trauma, but I think everyone in their own way has been through trauma. And you know what? We just fucking do the best that we can do with the tools that we've got. And some of us made some really like questionable decisions, but it doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. Absolutely not.
So what advice would you give them for someone who's got a similar kind of situation where they've got the shame, they've got the fear? Is it a question of starting to talk about it? Because I think people say they own things, and I think there's so many people walking around this world that are just masking their shit, and they're too afraid to fucking not tell the world, but just get that out and just talk about it and deal with it.
Yeah.
So how would you advise somebody to kind of tear the shackles off? Mate, it's okay.
I would recommend, because this is the thing, right? If we feel so much shame around something, like the herpes virus, for example, I'm sure we'll get onto that at some point. Yeah. But so if I was just to come out with people, say, a couple of years ago online and say, I got the herpes virus years ago, I don't actually think my nervous system could have handled that. I think I would have totally just had a meltdown, wanted to crawl into a hole. I had to edge my way into that.
To interject, I mean, for you to be comfortable saying that is fucking big.
And it doesn't, you know what, now, like saying that, like it literally, there's no pounding, there's no sweating. The first time I mentioned it, I've actually got the footage of it on my Instagram. I'm saying it in a mastermind I was in. I'm crying, I'm shaking, you can hear my voice quivering, but I knew I had to start releasing the shame around it. What I had to do, first of all, and this is what I would recommend to anyone, if you're feeling shame around a stigmatized condition, or even just for who you are, if you've been brought up being told you're too much, you're too this, you're too that, you're not enough this, you're not enough that, or if you've got shame around your past, it's not necessarily about telling the world if that's something you don't want to do. But if you want to overcome the shame around it, you need to look inside first, because usually whatever it is we are feeling shame around, for example, the herpes virus, it's not about the herpes virus. It's never been about the herpes virus. It goes so much deeper about that. It's the shame, it's the fear around rejection. It's the fear around, I'm not good enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not likable enough, I'm not lovable enough. That's what it was all about.
Where's that coming from? What's the root cause? What's
the root cause of those issues? Once you get to that, and once you figure that out,
I totally agree, because like I keep saying to myself, every time I go back it's hurtful and painful, but I'm going back for a reason, because I'm still not cleared, I'm still not healed. And I think, yes, people say be positive and put on a brave face, but I think that you can't really get to that level of attainment and achievement and happiness until you fucking clear the weeds out.
You've got to do the work.
Do you know what I mean?
You've got to do the work, and sometimes it can be really messy and really scary and involve a lot of snot bubble crying and on the floor, why, God, why? But you come out the other side so much stronger.
But when you feel that fear, that shame, that anger, it's just like, it's horrible, but like actually it's basically a warning sign or gift saying you've got to do something about it.
100%.
So what I used to do, and what many people used to do the drinks, do the drink, the drugs, the gambling, whatever. I did all of that kind of stuff, and it was like a second class post. All the shit came after it in the post afterwards.
So true.
And I've stopped doing the drugs. I'm still drinking a little bit, but I used to be an addict, all that kind of stuff. But you can do all the work, but it's ongoing, isn't it? It's ongoing.
Always. And I like, someone said this, I saw it on social media or something, but it's like, it's not that we're never done healing, but we're never done growing. And I really like that.
Right.
I really, really like that. I think we're always going to have stuff to work on, especially if we've got, sometimes we can have wounds which are so deeply baked into us. People like yourself and like me, who we've had like pretty big trauma.
Yeah.
Like there's going to be certain things that we probably have to work on a lot more than certain people, and like we're always going to have shit to work on. Doesn't mean we're broken, doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with us.
I also think that we know when we're kidding ourselves, and I think I wouldn't say I've been kidding myself, because I thought up until recently I was pretty authentic online. I think compared to most people, not that I should compare, I think I am quite authentic. But
you are.
Thank you, but someone said to me a couple of months ago, I don't think you are. I was like, what the fuck? She was basically saying you're telling the story, but you're not really telling it with feeling. So I've done some NLP work, and only last week it came up about my son, who I hadn't seen for 6 months, my oldest one, 6 years actually. And I started to cry and feel, and kind of like, I think there's doing the work and there's really doing the work when you're actually feeling it, not just logically understanding it. You're actually getting involved with the emotion.
Yeah, so true. Yeah, we can definitely understand something at a like cerebral level, but I totally agree.
Is that sort of the work that you do then? So tell us about the work that you do, because I've listened to a couple of your stuff, and I'd probably hire you as a coach as well, because I mean it's phenomenal. But just, you do, is it sort of shame slaying, that kind of stuff, is it?
Yes, that's like the name I've adopted. I'm like, the shame. Do you know what, when I first kind of done this pivot and I knew I wanted to help people at a deeper level, and with the RTT hypnosis, I was like, it's a sabotage coach, I'm gonna help people stop self-sabotage. But the more work I've been doing, I'm like, do you know what, it's actually shame. It's helping people overcome shame, and I could only do that by being on my own journey. So I use a mixture of coaching and rapid transformational therapy, which I like to describe as like hypnosis on steroids.
Okay.
I did a lot of the talking therapies on and off for years, and personally, I know it works for a lot of people, and this is the thing, you have to do what works for you. For me, I felt like I was going around in circles, and I was trying all these different things, and I kind of felt like nothing was really working. And I got to a point where I was doing well in my business. I was making more money than I'd ever made, and I still felt inadequate, still never felt good enough. At the time, I was working with a client who was doing rapid transformational therapy, and I thought, you know what, let's give that a go. What have we got to lose? Had a session with her, and it just absolutely changed my life.
I've had a couple of those. It's like kind of like affirmations on steroids, isn't it? Is it like, I am good, I'm grateful, but it's more than that. Is it you?
Yeah, personally for me, I don't like affirmations. I feel like a knobhead if I'm standing in front of the mirror and I'm going, you are beautiful, you are, and I am beautiful, I am amazing. I just feel like a twat. But with RTT, I suppose it is kind of like that in a way, because I'm putting you into hypnosis, I'm regressing you back to scenes to find the root cause of your issue, and then a few other tools that I use, and at the end, I give you a custom hypnosis which you listen to for 21 days, and it's all suggestions which are all in line with the things you want.
But I think it's interesting. I think people get confused. Like, you've had big things happen, like rejection, abandonment, your mum, dad, I've had, but it doesn't have to be as big. It can be something along the lines of, almost, you're in a sweet shop and your dad says, no, you can't have any fucking sweets. Something like that, and that can really play out. So it's all that stuff, isn't it?
Yes, I'm so glad you brought that up, because so much of the time in sessions, people will be like, I know what's going to come up. I know what scenes are going to come up. And I'm like, do you though? And they think it's going to be the big trauma that they had, like the abuse or whatever. And sometimes, like you said, the scene that comes up is they're in the sweet shop and the dad says, no, you're not having that. And then that's stuck with them forever.
Yeah. I think as well, I've done so many different types of things. I mean, I think it's taken 6 or 7 different things. And I think it's the advice I would give, that is that you've got to persevere with this stuff. It's not, sometimes you won't get it the first time, the second time, or the third time. You just got to have a willingness though, haven't you, to want to do it, right?
Absolutely. You have to put the work in, and you also have to realize as well that no one is coming to save you. Like, you can be, as you well know, like, you can be a shit hot coach. We can be the best in the world at what we do, but unless our clients are willing to put in the work and be consistent with it, like, we can't be anyone's savior.
But a good coach will say that as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We can't wipe their ass.
Exactly. And nor do I want to either.
No. So I was going to bring it up, but you already have the herpes thing, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, that must have hit you for 6.
It was like the worst day of my life when I found out. And I genuinely thought, because by then I wasn't doing the sex work, I'd got into a relationship. This was about a year or so later. And he had this, what I now know now is a breakout, but he said it was something else. He basically said that his foreskin was tight and it does that all the time. I was like, all right, why would he lie?
Yeah.
So we continued having sex. And then the breakout, it was going on for a while. So I said, will you just get checked out? I'd already been checked out.
Yeah.
I also didn't know at the time, very bloody naive, that you can have a full sexual health check and the herpes virus doesn't show up.
Oh, right,
it will not show up unless you are having an active breakout and it gets like swabbed or something, or if they do a certain type of blood work.
When you say breakout, you don't have to get too graphic, but is it a visual thing that you see, or?
Well, do you ever get cold sores?
Oh, right, yeah.
That's what it is.
Okay, right.
But it's a cold sore down there.
Yeah.
So some people
Not
can
ideal.
have, yeah, exactly. And some people can have like pretty like extreme breakouts.
Right, okay.
For me personally, I mean, I haven't had one for months, but when I do, it's literally like I get a tiny little blister, and I still, if I get a breakout now to this day, I still think it's an ingrown hair for the first couple of days. Like, oh, well, now if you shave down there, it happens.
Yeah. So is it a virus that is permanent? It just
it's literally it's the cold sore virus, but it's in a different place.
Okay.
It's exactly the same virus. So I think you've got HSV1, which we tend to get here, HSV2,
so
which
there's no
we tend to
shame
get
in it.
there.
It's just something that you have
It's the
to
stigma.
manage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But people
that.
associate it with you're a slag or whatever, or you just don't give a fuck about your sexual preferences or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
And I know people who've got it when they've slept with one person.
Yeah.
And like I said, even me doing the sex work, I didn't get it from that. I ended up getting it when I was in a relationship.
So in terms of your emotional, did you? All that stuff came in the shame, I'm sure.
Oh, I was like, this is God punishing me for what I've done. I was absolutely devastated, and I knew very early on that the relationship, like, we weren't right together, it wasn't aligned. But I was like, well, I've got this thing now, no one else is gonna want me. I already had feelings from childhood of I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable enough, I'm not this, I'm not that.
Hell.
All of that was brought to the surface, so I ended up staying in this unaligned relationship for 3 years.
You stayed with him?
Yeah, for 3 years, because I was like, no one else is going to touch me anymore.
Bloody hell, of course,
so then that
right.
brought its own set of problems as well.
Yeah. So how did you change that? Because you would never do that. Old Dionne is different to new Dionne.
Oh,
right?
yeah, totally different now. Like, fuck that shit. If I'm not happy with someone like that, So, like I said, 3 years we stayed together. We ended up, like, the drinking and using, like, that got pretty bad, because I think we were both, like, pretty miserable. But when we were off our faces, we had a brilliant time. So then that was kind of the only way we really coped for 3 years, until it got to a point where by this time I was just about to pivot my business. I'd done some RTT. I was really starting to do the inner work on myself. So we finally broke up the relationship, and it was a mutual thing. Like, we still talk now, like, we're friends. Like, he's a good guy. We just weren't right for each other. Yeah. But yeah, it was just, I think by then I was just doing the inner work. We broke up, and now, like I said, I'm in a relationship. We've only been in it for a few months, but he knows everything about me. I know everything about him. We accept each other exactly the way we are. It's like love and bits. It's a beautiful relationship. Yeah. But yeah, it took a while to get to that point.
Was that your darkest moment then, did you say?
I would say my darkest moment was when I was sitting in the police cell after the altercation I'd had. Yeah. And I was a prostitute sitting in a police cell. The solicitor said, this is bad. And it turned out I could have been looking at prison for 3 years.
What did you do?
And no comment.
Oh, God, here we go. It's not a police interview. Come on, let's have a little bit.
It was like, it was an altercation. It was an altercation, but it went
bit
like
of fisticuffs, was it? Or?
Yeah, and I went
okay.
way too far. It was with a man, but went way too far. Like I said, I was an emotional mess back then. Now I can handle my emotions a lot better because of a lot of the work that I've done. But so I remember I was sat in the police cell. I'm like, I could be looking at prison here. It was really, but police cars, that they'd been everywhere down the street. It was in the paper, it was everything.
Wow.
And I remember I sat here thinking, this time 6 months ago, I was a really successful, really highly respected vocal coach in Brighton, loads of students, and now I'm a prostitute sat in a police cell potentially going to prison.
Yeah.
I think that was the darkest moment. The herpes was a close second.
Yeah, right. God, for me, it's like people worry about, I haven't paid my gas bill as a bad example, but I mean, quite innocuous things that they worry about. But you've had big things to deal with. I'm really interested to find out. Obviously, you didn't just wake up one day and say "fuck it," I don't care. But the pride you must have in yourself to be able to hold yourself and not worry about that. It's almost like, this is why I think that the past doesn't define you. It's almost like you're actually a different, you're still Dionne, but you're a different human being, I think.
Definitely. I think it's because I've always known that I was meant to help people, but I was always very lost in my purpose. I've been coaching on and off for 12 years now, but in different ways, like vocal coaching, doing VA coaching, this type of coaching.
Yeah.
So I've always loved helping people, but I never really knew what my exact purpose was. And as I was moving through my own journey of overcoming shame and going through all of that, I was seeing like other people started messaging me the more I started sharing my story, and they were like, oh my God, like, thank you so much for sharing that. And I realized this is what I was put on this earth to do. And how can I help people if I don't have the courage to face my own shit and do the deep inner work? I need to set an example. And I need to work on myself as much as possible and do the scary things, because the more I do that, the more people I can help. And I want to help people because I know what it's like.
By helping them, you're also helping yourself.
100%, yeah.
So I know it's not a mask, but you put on this very powerful, confident persona, and you are, but also, you know as well as I do, we're all fucking human beings.
100%.
What scares you? What are you? What fears do you have at the moment? What makes you upset and cry and vulnerable and anxious?
I am still a control freak, and that, like, entering this relationship for me, that's brought on its own challenges, because little things like my lack of routine. So when we first met, all of a sudden I'm going to bed a bit late, I'm getting up early, he gets up at 4:30 for work, and I'm like, so all of a sudden my routine, which I've been so militant with because it's really helped my head, all of a sudden that was out the window. I hated losing control of that. Even like falling in love again. I was happy being single. Falling in love again, I hated the lack of control of that. That is still something that scares me.
This
lack
is a
of
fear
control.
for me, because like, I've been single now for 3 or 4 years happily. I've got divorced and I've done loads of work on myself. Now I'm at a stage now I'd quite like to find someone settled down. But I think there's a big difference between saying that and then the reality, as you just said, is like, oh fuck, someone's in my bed every morning, they do things I don't like to do, and it's like, it's a different ball game, isn't it?
Yeah. You know I mean? And even though it's so amazing and all of these feelings, it's beautiful, there's also the other side where it's really fucking scary as well. Especially when you come from the kind of childhoods we had, where it's like, I've got control over my life, I'm good by myself because I know exactly where I am and I can control everything. And then someone comes into your life and all of a sudden it just goes out the window.
Have you adapted okay then, or are you still learning?
I'm still learning. I think, do you know what? Like, we both are, because he was happy being alone as well. And it was completely unexpected, but I don't know, it just worked together.
Because I'm doing some work on attachment styles. I don't know if you heard of this, like avoidant attachments, secure attachment.
So I'm disorganised.
Oh, you that one, right? Yeah. Let's talk about that, because I think I'm anxious avoidant, whatever that is, and it basically means that it's for fear of abandonment. Yeah. And or I go the other way, I abandon them.
Yeah.
What about you?
So I think that is the disorganised one. So it's kind of, we go from basically kind of like one thing to the other. year.
Yeah.
So I've only recently started learning about attachment styles, but oh my God, so much stuff makes sense.
Amazing, isn't it?
Because I can go from one minute I'm like, oh my God, I'm so in love, this is just so amazing, to this doesn't work and no, I can't do it. And he'll do like the tiniest thing wrong and I'm like, I need to be alone. This just isn't working for me anymore. I need to be single. And literally the next minute again, I'm like, this is amazing. Oh my God. And I was looking, I was like, what the fuck's wrong with me? I'm literally like black and white, going from one thing to the other very, very fast.
Yeah, right.
And I started learning about attachment styles, and I'm like, this makes so much sense.
It blew my mind because it made me realise, it gave me compassion for myself. And then when I looked at other people who I thought were narcissists and things like that, I thought, actually, no, they've just got different attachment styles. Yeah. And it kind of made me give them compassion. I was like, oh, right. So instead of judging them, let's talk about it. You know what I mean? Because we've all got some sort of shit going on, right?
100%. And it's just like, it's amazing realising this stuff and being so self-aware, because we realise, not only do we realise we're not broken, but like you said, we can have compassion for other people as well. It's not that they're broken, they've just been through some shit and this is how they now deal with stuff. And we can also help to always improve ourselves as well.
I think that's the point though, improving ourselves. But like, I think that it's understanding what our faults are, but then if you see a fault or something different in your partner, who am I to say, mate, I want you to change that? I just think you've got to just talk about it and just say, this is how it makes me feel. Do you know what I mean? But I think sometimes people just because someone acts slightly differently, a bit more dismissive or less intimate or affectionate than you, doesn't make them wrong. It's just their style, maybe. I don't know. It's difficult, isn't it, sometimes? Yeah,
and I think we're always quick, especially in relationships, we're always very quick. And this might be with friends as well, not necessarily just with like lovers. We're very quick to want to change other people. Yeah. Like, I don't like that about that person. Totally. I don't like that about that person. But it's like, we should be a lot quicker. I want to like change these things about ourselves.
Oh, as you said, the way to the gold is where you're looking at yourself. You know, even if someone's done the most heinous thing to you, there's an element of what role did I play in that sometimes. And I think it takes a brave person to do that, right? Yeah,
we've got to be more accountable and take radical responsibility. Like, we've got to.
So, what's been your happiest moments?
My happiest moments.
Have you had any?
I think, do you know what? Absolutely. Do you know what? This year has, even though there's been a lot of wobbles, a lot of, sometimes I'd literally been on the floor, like before I had the first disclosure conversation around herpes and started talking about it online, there was a lot of fucking wobbles, a lot of stuff brought to the surface. It was difficult. But it's been the best year of my entire life because there's been so much growth. And I'm not even talking about financial growth. 2 years ago was the most money I've made. It's took a drop and we're building it back up again. Yeah. But personal growth this year has just been absolutely incredible. I've made so many amazing memories. My relationship with my family, like my mom, my dad, my sisters, like it's the best. It's the best it's ever been because it was rocky for a very, very long time. Obviously I've met James, my partner. That's been amazing. Even that, like, it's brought its own challenges, but this year has been best of my life. Absolutely.
What has James brought to your life?
So he is the epitome of unapologetic expression, which is obviously everything that I talk about. And so I met him in the meetings. Nice. I met him in Knockox and all that. I knew about him before because he's knew my mum and my sister for years. So I knew of him. But I just love how he'll probably like kick off when we saying it. He's like the softest person you've ever met. He's just absolutely lush, but he also doesn't give a shit what people like think. He's just himself, and I love that about him, and I think he helps to bring that out in me even more. So I've
done the addiction 12-step stuff, and it was good for me, but I moved out of that, and now I don't need that. Because for me personally, I found it too conformative. Right, if I'm slipped up, the relapse, what you call it, you go back to step one. It just felt for me personally, but you've got to find what's right for you. It's not one size fits all, is it?
Do you know what? I'm going to be honest. I'm going through a bit of a, like, I don't know if like crosswords is the word at the minute, but I'm going through a bit of a weird thing with it myself at the minute where it really did help me at the beginning of the year, and I've met so many amazing people from it, and I've made some beautiful friends from it. But there's certain things about it which I'm just like, it doesn't feel right for me. It saved my partner's life. It saved my mum's life. Most of my bloody family are in it. But there's certain things in it which I'm just like, it just doesn't feel right. I haven't been to a meeting for a few weeks. I'm just kind of still on my own journey at the minute. And there's certain aspects of it I absolutely love. Certain aspects of it I don't like so much.
What about values? Because one of my values is faith and honesty. Did you talk to us about your values, and also about faith, spirituality, religion, all that kind of stuff? Do you love high powers, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. So I definitely do believe in a God now. I never used to, but there's a lot about religion that doesn't align with me. So like, I've been to church and all of that. Like, I pray most days. But do I believe in a God in the sense that it's like some dude who's like, do you know what I mean? Where it's like, if you do this thing, you're going to hell. If you're fucking gay, you're going to hell and all that bollocks. I do not believe that for a second. I believe that we cannot comprehend what God is.
No.
There's something higher than us, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's like a higher power frequency or a vibe. It's not one man going, I'll give you 6 out of 10.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly that.
So what about your parents then? Because you mentioned, and your family, I'm sure you've been open with them about what's happened. How's that journey been? Because were they kind of sort of upset and angry with you, or how did it all play out?
Absolutely. I think more than anything they were really worried, because as I said, I'd been playing the role of good girl for such a long time. Then all of a sudden I'm the rebel doing all of the crazy stuff. So I think they were just very worried. As I mentioned, I met my dad when I was 19. As we were getting to know each other for the first few years, that's had some ups and downs, but we get on really well. Now, he's always been, no matter what I've done, he's always been like, since I've known him, he's always been like there for me and so supportive. I've always been able to tell my dad absolutely anything.
Wow.
Me and my mum, our relationship was really up and down, very rocky. I mean, sometimes we'd go like a year without talking to each other. That's not the case anymore, which I'm really grateful for. But I think they were just worried more than anything when I was going through that kind of like fuck the world, just self-destruct mission.
Yeah. I mean, to not have your dad, I think you said from 6 to 19. 19, you're an adult, but you're still a young woman.
Oh God, I was a little kid back then, man. I was such a little kid.
To have him back in your life must have been strange more than anything else.
Yeah, but I always said that when I got to 18 I wanted to find out who my dad was, because I always felt there was this dad-sized hole. And like birthdays and Christmas and stuff like that, I always remember thinking like, I wonder what he's up to, I wonder if he's got any more kids, this, that. And him and my mum, like I said, they had their own troubles with addiction, so their relationship was very violent and very like turbulent. So when I was 6 months old, I think they kind of both came to the decision, look, it's best if he just goes and is not involved. My mum brought me up. But what was the question again?
So no, that's fine. No, it's fine. I love it. So this is really interesting. So when he came back into into your life, I've been guilty of this myself. When my oldest son, I came back into his life, and because I was affected by it, I'll be honest, I almost forgot about how it affected him and made it a little bit about me a little bit. And now I realise, hang on a second, if it's affected me, how's it affected him? So I'm interested in that dynamic around, you was obviously emotionally upset and fucked off about it, but how did he rekindle that relationship with you?
He was amazing, He was absolutely amazing. So I found out where he was with the help of my stepdad.
Right.
By this time I was 19. We found out where he was. We ended up, I think his adoptive mom had just died. Yeah. So we got in touch via, I'm sure it was like the obituary or something like that. How do you pronounce it? Obituary?
Oh, I think you said
when
it right.
When you die and you go on the paper.
I call it obituary. I think you said it right. We'll go with yours.
So we ended up finding out, I think it was via that, and then we sent a letter to his solicitor.
Yeah.
With a phone number, and I think it was basically along the lines of, look, if you want to get in touch, great. If you don't, again, understand, but just want to let you know, like, Dionne, your daughter's wants to know who you are. He rang, I think it was later that night, and we ended up talking. Well, I couldn't talk. I was just crying my eyes out. I was like, couldn't get anything out. And I think it was 2 days later, he drove from Brighton to Newcastle, and I went for dinner with him, and it was so weird. I've got a picture on my Facebook of like 10 minutes after I meet my dad. My mom's like, let's get a picture. Wow. And so you can see the shell shock in his face, but yeah.
So there was no resentment then about him going away for so long?
Nah,
wow,
no,
okay.
do you know what? We've had so many conversations about it, and I know, like I said, like my dad had his own struggles with drugs and stuff like that. He was adopted like from a very, very young age. So with that, he had his own like troubles and feelings of not feeling good enough and not feeling lovable. So when I got to know my dad and he spoke, there was no resentment there. To be honest, like, I agree with him, because he's told me, he said, Dionne, if I was in your life the whole time, he said, you would have been way more fucked up.
Best thing for you that you wasn't around.
It was the best thing.
Right. There was no contact at all then for that period at all? Or was
not from 6 months to 6 months, 6 months to 19.
And what impact do you think that's had?
So on me, like I said, I never felt good enough and I never felt lovable. So obviously my dad wasn't there, and my mum, who wasn't happy. And then there was the suicide attempts and all of this. She was deeply unhappy a lot of our childhood. So just, definitely affected me.
But this is why I think, I'm not here to judge any relationship. Who am I to say? But I also think that there are some couples, some married couples, or they're not married or whatever, that they stay in relationships because they think it's good for the children, but actually sometimes it's better for the children if you're not together. And I think that's a good example, right?
Definitely, because there's, like you said, there's so many marriages which are just totally toxic, and the kids are being brought up witnessing all of this shouting and fighting and just all of this poison going on, and that can mess the kids up even more than the dad not being there. The thing is, like I said, we all go through our own traumas. We all get fucked up in one way or another.
100%.
But this is the thing, it's like what happened to us as children, it wasn't our fault, but it's our responsibility, unfortunately, to heal from it.
And this is the thing, because when I used to tell my story, I always used to think I was, in my subconsciously, I'm craving for, I never was, but I got this thing in my head, I'm craving for sympathy. It was never about sympathy, it's about talking about it, getting it out there, and kind of just, it's where am I going with this, in terms of like, whatever's happened to me doesn't define me, but it was rough, but I've still got a choice to either be the victim or the victor.
That's it. And that's what I say about my clients. My clients are not victims, with the victors. Some people, and let's face it, someone's always been through more shit than we have.
Totally. 100%.
And then I used to always resent people who did really well in business as well. I used to always be, when I was in victim, I'd be like, well, it's all right for them because they must have had good parents, that. And then I would find out about people who, like yourself, who've been through so much shit and they've still done so well for themselves. And then I would think, I can't use my excuse of my shitty childhood anymore. Damn it. Shit.
So we've touched on suicide and your mum attempting that. What about yourself in terms of depression and suicide ideation? Has that ever happened?
Like from the age of, I think I was 8 years old the first time I tried hanging myself.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, it was in my head so regularly from such a young age, and maybe it's because I witnessed my mum doing it from a young age that I thought, that's just how we cope.
What did you actually witness?
Well, like slitting her wrists. I think the first time I was about 5, and I remember that. Wow. And I remember her crying at the top of the stairs and the neighbour coming in, and I didn't really know what was going on. But then there was one time, I think I was 12 years old, and I think she'd relapsed, because I'm sure she'd went a period of time without drinking, but maybe she'd relapsed. Or maybe it's before she went in A, I can't remember. But I think she'd been drinking anyways, and I could hear her crying in her bedroom, and she was shouting for my stepdad. So I went to open the door, and she was like, don't come in, crying. Obviously, you're fucking gonna go in, aren't you? And I've never seen as much blood in my life. Like, she'd done a really good number on herself. So that really affected me. But yeah, it'd been in my head loads, and when I was going through the madness of when I was doing the sex work, and I thought I was going to be going to prison, because that kind of the legal aspect of that was dragged out for a few months. I thought it was only going to be a few weeks. So my head was really messed up. I was using every day. I was drinking every day. And there was one point I was just like, I've had enough with this. So I tried killing myself. I was hanging myself, and I remember, I wouldn't recommend it. It's really fucking painful. Do not do it.
No.
But I remember at one point, it felt the only way I can describe it is it's like there was these, after the struggle, it was like these black curtains were coming. And I remember thinking, oh, this is it. I'm dying now.
Seriously?
Okay, this is happening. Me dog, me pug, started crying and scratching like crazy on the door. And I remember thinking, like, who's going to feed me dog?
Right,
because
right.
at the time I wasn't speaking to any of my family.
Yeah.
So I was thinking she could go undiscovered for weeks. Like, how fucking selfish is that?
Wow.
So I untied the thing and then ran. And I was like, I'm so sorry. And so I still say to this day, my dog saved us.
Isn't it amazing when we snap out of our own mind?
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, something like that. Because it's when we're in that situation, it's like you just think it's going to be a relief, and everyone yourself will be happier if you're not there. And it's all about you, isn't it?
Yeah,
you in your own heads. It's so
me,
difficult to get out of that sometimes. But is there any advice you'd give to people in that sort of really depressive, dark state? Also, I caveat this on all my podcasts. What I say or you say isn't advice. It's general. It's not one size fits all. But what would work for you? Or
do you know what I think now? Because that's the closest I've definitely come to killing myself. And since then, life wasn't linear. Happiness wasn't linear. I've still had dark moments, but sometimes I look at my dog, or I laugh with my partner or my family, or even I'm watching like a movie and I'm pissing myself laughing.
Yeah.
And do you know what I think so much? I'm like, I'm so glad I didn't die that night, because I wouldn't be laughing right now. I wouldn't be enjoying this nice meal right now. So I don't want to say to anyone like, look, life is just going to be amazing and all rainbows and unicorns if you don't fucking kill yourself. You're still going to have some hard times, but oh my God, life gets to be so beautiful as well. So beautiful. And it's the smallest things that you can be so grateful for.
And also, I'd say nothing is permanent as well.
Nothing is permanent.
Even the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, it always moves and shakes. But I think your point around it, if you are depressed, people, I always try and do one little thing. Do small things like go for a walk and then go for a longer walk, then go for a walk with a smoothie. And it's really doesn't have to be this big grandiose thing sometimes. You know what I mean?
Talk, like tell police, tell someone. I was on the phone to Samaritans. No, was it Samaritans or was it Crisis? I can't remember.
Yeah, there's a
one
few,
of them. I was on the. I've probably on the phone to bloody all of them at one point. But like, just please. Just talk to people, and if you're struggling with addictions and stuff like that, try the fellowship. Like, get yourself in those rooms. Like, at least bloody give it a go. And as you said, nothing is permanent. Life can be really bloody hard, and people are still gonna die, and shit's still gonna happen, and you're still gonna get an expected fucking electricity bill due in the door. The washing machine's still gonna break. But there's so much beauty in the world as well, and we get to experience all of it, but only if we're here.
Totally. You mentioned improvements earlier. What improvements do you think you need to make?
Like in myself or in the world?
Oh, both actually.
In myself, definitely the control aspect. Still working
Control
on
freak.
that. Yeah, still working on that.
Yeah.
What do you know? What it's been coming back in recently, and I know because my partner's mentioned it, like I can really still overthink stuff. I like to predict the future, but then I just like totally go off on one. I'm like, well, I can't do this because this is going to happen 5 years down the line. And he's like, Dionne, like, slow down, like stop overthinking. So overthinking, definitely, being a control freak. And you know what, I am still, God, my self-worth is 1,000,000 times better than it used to be. But I still have aspects, like at the LinkedIn party later on tonight, because I'm not drinking anymore, like I still feel really awkward and nervous going into social situations like that. Sober, it's still a skill that I'm learning. I've been used to having a few drinks, and I say a few drinks, it would always end up like I'd always end up on it for days at a time. You could probably drink me under the table,
I'm sure, but anyway.
Well, yeah, but I don't do that anymore. No. So now I'm going into these situations, a room full of strangers, people drinking, and I'm not drinking. That still makes me nervous. That's a skill that I'm still going to be working on for quite a while. Yeah. Especially dancing sober. I don't know if I can do that tonight.
I don't think I've ever done that, actually.
I think I've done it. I done it at the New Year's party last year, the NA party, but I was very much in my own head still.
Yeah, I'm with you on it though, with the drinking thing. It's the last couple of years I've really pared it back. I haven't stopped it, but I think that it's a basic question. But what are the fundamental benefits that you've found not drinking?
The guilt and shame and just the hangovers I would get, man. Not just... I really do think I get worse as you get older. Physically, I've always had bad hangovers anyways. 100%. But it's that anxiety is real, and just some of the stupid decisions I've made under the influence. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh,
Give us an example.
Oh my God. Do you know what?
Yeah.
I got into the habit of drink driving.
Seriously?
I was so against that for such a long time.
right.
And when I moved back to Newcastle, the shop was a good 15-minute walk away.
Yeah.
I'd have a bottle of wine and be like, I'm not fucking walking there, but I want another bottle of wine.
Wow.
I would drive drunk to get drugs. I would just drive drunk to go to the shop and get more. I would drive drunk to pick up people. I could have killed myself and other people. That's so fucking selfish. That is and obviously I don't do that anymore.
The power of you admitting that, though, the psychology of that, you didn't have to say that. I know people listen to that all judge and go, fucking, that's reckless, that's irresponsible.
I know, I agree.
And why do you feel compelled to say it like that? I'm not judging you. I think it's fucking amazing. Is there a thought process behind you just blurting that out?
Nah, I think it's the first time I said that publicly, but I know
fine,
that there's, because this is the thing, right? We can be the most beautiful, caring people in the world, but some of us, as soon as you put a drink or a drug into us, we do the most stupid things that can ruin not just our lives, but so many other lives.
Sure. And it's just that brutal honesty. Honesty is so important, I think, in terms of having no secrets. I did a big podcast. I was a guest on a guy called Dodge Woodall's podcast a couple of months ago. It came out 2 weeks ago. And I was brutally honest. I was vulnerable. And for me, I think you've mentioned the no secrets thing before. When you are brutally honest with yourself and other people and you don't have any secrets, for me personally, I think that's one of the biggest growth things I've done. I'm not saying I've been lying before, but I haven't been telling the full aspect of it. It's just so, what's the word? It's just so relieving, I think.
100%. And someone said, I saw something where they'd actually written the most underestimated power of a woman is one with no secrets to hide.
Right.
I think that applies to bloody any gender.
Of course. Yeah.
Because when you've got no secrets to hide, what can people hold against you?
On that point, though, what do you think men can do more of to be better or help women and vice versa? Because it's the age-old thing, feminists and men are this and women are this. I actually think, controversially, I know women are disadvantaged compared to men in some aspects, but I think that's the other way around as well. Yeah. I think overall it's fairly even. Kill me, why don't you? What do you think?
I just think we need to have each other's backs more. Yeah. Do you know what? I'm quite traditional in the sense that I want to feel looked after. I'm always going to make me more money. I love looking after myself. Yeah. But I'm at a stage now. I'm like, do you know what? I love being looked after, and I love feeling protected. And I suppose there's things that men just do better than women. Parking, one of them.
True though.
But there's things that women do better than men, and I think just the more that we can work together, we can just work in bloody harmony.
I think it's so true. And when women say, "Oh, I don't need a man," that's when exactly it's usually the opposite.
Well, yeah. Well, for one, men built all the bloody roads for a start. We need each other.
Of course we do.
We fucking need each other.
100%.
And I don't think there's any shame in admitting that.
No. So talking about LinkedIn then.
Love LinkedIn.
I love LinkedIn. It's great. I've made so many friends and business out of it. But what's the good, bad and the ugly for LinkedIn for you? What? So...
you, I've met amazing people like yourself on LinkedIn. I just absolutely love that platform. It's always where I've gotten the majority of my business from. I find it more... I want to say I find it more authentic. I think there's knobheads on every platform.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But yeah, I think what I love about it, obviously the organic reach is definitely better for me. My Instagram, even though I post on it all the time, honestly, my engagement is like a bloody graveyard in there sometimes.
It's just so hard, I think.
I know, and I put in a lot more effort in that and I get half the results from it. But yeah, so LinkedIn, obviously organic reach better. I love the people that I've met on it. What is the bad and the ugly? There's quite a lot of perverts on there.
Right, okay.
So I've had some weird messages on there.
Yeah.
Obviously getting all of the sales messages every day, that gets on your tits quite a lot. But yeah, it's still, do you know what? Overall, I love the platform. It's the people I've met.
I'm liking the authenticity of it. I think that it's coming. But there's still some people that post a selfie and they've got and the content has got nothing to do with the selfie. It's a bit like I think you can see that they're doing it for the likes. And I've been guilty of that before, but now when I post a post, it's like I say to myself, what value is this adding? So I'm trying to do it for my audience, not for me. And I think that's the difference a little bit.
Oh yeah, I'm still working on that because at the end of the day, right, especially coming from where we come from,
it's hard.
It's nice to be told, oh my God, you're so amazing. We still like the validation.
Of course we do, let's be honest.
Exactly. I've posted loads of selfies on my post. I'm like, I look good on that, I'm posting it.
I'm Mr. Selfie, but I'm saying that I think that look, I even on my stories, I check who's checking my stories. It's still there. Be honest, I think we still have that. And the moment we say, so on the purpose and the future front, then, because you've talked about purpose, what is your purpose? Do you think, and what's the future holding for you? Do you think?
I want to help as many people as possible just show up more powerfully in the world, not just online but offline. I want to help people heal from all of the unresolved shit their emotionally unstable parents and society bestowed upon them. I want to help people overcome shame, whether it be around a stigmatized condition or their past, whatever the hell it is. And I think most importantly, I want to help people learn to love and accept themselves exactly the way they are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We're always going to have little psycho moments, no matter how much healing work we've been doing. And it's like, do you know what? Like, we get to be these full spectrum human beings who feel all of the emotions, and we've got our little crazy, quirky bits about us, and that's all okay.
Yeah. What makes a good client for you then?
People who own their own shit and don't play victim. People who I love working with leaders, people who are like really ambitious and they've been through shit but they're still like, do you know what? I am going to work my arse off and be the best person that I can be. And at the same time, I also know that I've got these unresolved wounds that are holding me back. So I want to work on them to make myself an even better person.
Yeah. Dionne, we kind of reached the end of the podcast. It's been absolutely amazing. We could chat loads more. I knew it would be like this. Just open raw. I think what you're doing is phenomenal. I think you're phenomenal.
Likewise.
Any passing gifts in terms of advice or statements you want to say to people going through some tough times before you go?
Yeah, like I said, life is a bloody emotional roller coaster, and it's always going to be, and that's absolutely fine. Get good people in your circle, because you know what, and look after your outside world as well, because you can do all of the inner healing work in the world, but if you're still sniffing at weekends and you're still watching Jeffrey Dahmer documentaries and you're still hanging around with arseholes, don't be surprised when you're still stuck. No. Like, work on, your inner world, but your outer world as well. Totally. Keep good people in your circle and just keep on bloody going.
Also, just before we go, you do, I can't say Muay Thai.
Muay Thai. That's it. I mean, it's very much a hobby. Like, I haven't had a proper fight yet. Yeah, right. I paid a lot of money for this nose, and like, obviously, like, my partner, he's a fighter. My sister's a fighter. I know a lot of fighters. And I've seen some of the states I've been in, and I'm like, I think I'll stick to it as a hobby. I don't like being punched in the face.
No, but is it the discipline of it? What I'm trying to say is, I think...
Amazing for confidence.
Yeah.
Confidence.
So on that point, I think when you say inner and outer, if you can find an interesting hobby like that, I think it's really powerful for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like you said, discipline, but the confidence and just getting into that good, healthy routine.
Yeah. And if someone wanted to find you or hire you, where's the best place that they can connect with you?
Just Dionne Slater, LinkedIn, Dionne Slater, Google, Dionne Slater, Instagram. I think because I've got an Instagram, Dionne Slater, but I can't remember the login. I set that up years ago. So I think now it's at Dionne_.
Yeah. Do you know what? I don't normally ask this question, but I'd love to come on your podcast as well.
Please do. Oh my God, I would love that. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? I'm holding you to that now.
Brilliant. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having us.